In Affinity Photo, you can use patterns with selections in countless ways to create some truly weird and wonderful designs. Just got here a grading applied to a pixel layer. You can use the grading tool, but you could use images, type, etc. Go to the Move tool, go to Layer, New Pattern Layer from Selection. So make certain it's turned into a pattern. At the moment it's pixel, so you can now see you've got pattern layer. Delete the pixel layer, otherwise you end up selecting by accident. Quite easily done. I've done that more times than I can count. And you can then resize this. You can also set mirror on so you can get a much nicer effect. And you can just drag in, scale it, and also rotate it, which is great for creating all kinds of pattern designs. But also what you can do, just go over here and you can use like the rectangular marquee tool. You can also use other selection tools. So select, selection from layer intensity, color range, tonal range, all those sort of things can be used. So with that, I can now just add that, and it's got a feather. So I'm just creating a feather, I'm applying it over that pattern bound box. You don't have to, you can apply it anywhere, it doesn't matter. Just go over here, Move tool, and then you can drag. And as you do that, you'll see what happens. It breaks that pattern layer apart. I'm just going to drag that, I can move it around. I can also rotate it. So I can rotate it. So you can get sort of like diamond designs. Obviously you've got a diamond design anyway, but you can't see the end result yet. What you need to do, select and deselect, and then you can see your design. Now this works with most things, gradients, etc. You've got a load of gradients obviously in the swatches. You can use all those, images, type, but sometimes the results, you don't always achieve exactly. It's an experimental effect, I think. So I wish I could say guarantee you will get this or that from using a particular type of selection. Don't think it's so achievable. Well, with that, you've got the layer and you've got nothing behind it. So you can go here to effects, click there, say 3D. So 3D, you can see now you get a 3D effect just around there. Outer shadow, you can set the radius, offset, intensity, and you can see you've got a lovely shadow effect there. And it's a pattern layer. You can duplicate that. Just hold down the Alt Option key, and that's on your keyboard, and drag. And you can see then you've got two layers, and you can of course combine them. So you can rotate that, you can shear it, and so on. Build up all kinds of complex designs. Also, you can select both and manipulate both as well. So if you want, just create that very quickly from a selection. Well, I'm just going to quickly go down here and now combine it. So layer. Now the result of merge selected is hit and miss as well. I've never mastered why something like does that. The result doesn't always match what you got before. There must be some logic to it, but it doesn't seem to work in that way. And you can see now I've got this design. Well, I can use other selections. Elliptical marquee tool. So let's go with that. It's got a feather, so it's got a bit of blurriness. And I can create selections, say like here. I can create another selection as well because I've got add and subtract. So you can add and subtract to it. So you can create, let's just make certain that I can add. Yeah, so using this, you can see you can build up all kinds of complex selections. Not as complex, of course, as if you've got an image and you do a selection, layer intensity, etc. But you certainly got a decent selection here. And also you can subtract. And you can create ring designs and so on. Now, once you've got that, again, go to the Move tool and then drag. And again, that will break the image apart. You can see now you've got breaks in it again. Again, you can't see the end result until you go to select. I don't know why, but it doesn't. So select and deselect, and then you can see your end result. And again, you've got a slightly more complex design than you had before. And again, you can continue to add effects, modify the effects. Also, you can always, of course, go to Layer and rasterize or merge visible. So I'm just going to rasterize it, just turn it into a pixel layer. Don't want to preserve the layer effects. I just want to be combined into the image. I can turn that into, let's just go to layer, pattern layer from selection. Any pixel layer selected can be turned into a pattern. So new pattern layer, and again you can resize that, go to the mirror, and it's mirrored. I prefer the mirror option. You don't have to use that, you can always use other things. Again, big suggestion, remove the pixel layer, or at least hide it. Hide it and lock it so you don't accidentally select it. If you want to use it later, just make it not visible and lock it. Otherwise you will select it and work with it and thinking, why doesn't XYZ work? I've done that too many times. So pattern layer selected, and you can move this around and you can use other ones. You've got this tool, freehand selection tool. This time it's actually slightly complicated. I've got probably too hard to work that one out. You know, when you look at it and think, well, it's too complicated, it's probably hard to see the actual design. So let's just again create something very, very basic. Now you can use this freehand selection tool. I think is really useful for this. So freehand selection, and you can use adds and subtracts as well. Also you've got options here for magnetic as well as polygons, but I'm using the freehand option. I like that. So just create a zigzag design. Over that design you can create all kinds of different shapes. And with that, go here again, move tool, and then you can drag and you can break the image apart in different ways with that. You can see it creates a very weird, like I said, very hard unfortunately initially to see what, so select and deselect, and then you've got that design. You can just about make it out with combination of this, the gradient as well as the pattern and everything. It all sometimes doesn't immediately jump out until you've done that select and deselect. And again, you can use these, you can go to effects, outer shadow, and maybe go for color overlay. Let's just change the color, maybe go for something like that, and click close, and so on. But also another thing you can do is you can use selections inverted. So again, let's just go here, freehand selection tool, just create a quick selection, doesn't have to be anything, like something like that. Select and invert pixel selection. So with that, all of the whole image is selected other than the area you initially just created. Again, go to the move tool and then drag with that. And then again, you can see you now get even more sort of unusual breaks in the image. And you can drag that around. Again, you can rotate it. Sometimes if you've got access to it, you probably have to use it. Yeah. Just navigate, you can turn, you can see as you rotate that, the selection rotates, as well as obviously the pattern layer as well. Select and deselect, and then you've got your design there. And again, you've got transparency. Hold down the Alt Option key and duplicate. And with that, you've got effects. So you can click into effects, go to color overlay, and maybe let's go for blue. So you can see, combine multiple colors like that. Again, rotate it so you can go that way, and so on. Now you can also use another feature of this. Sometimes this is again not particularly effective, but sometimes works. And that's, I'm just going to go layer and merge visible. I'm just going to remove the other ones, just delete them. So I've got this design, and I can again go to here, blur and Gaussian blur. Click apply, and again turn it into a pattern layer. So new pattern layer from selection, resize, thing, and delete it. Delete that one. So you've got your pattern design now. That's all you've got, the pattern layer. Again, I always like just to work from the pattern layer, not with the pattern, the actual original source. Then I can go select and selection from layer intensity. So I can use that. So selection from layer, you can see now I've got a slightly more complex selection. Again, you can go over here, got the move tool, and you can just drag it slightly. Now the results will vary. What it will create, you can see as it breaks it apart, and select and deselect, you can create some very weird and wonderful effects using that. Again, you can still combine it with filters, distort, deform, maybe go for mirror. Combine that. And that's another great feature with this, is you can use selections with effects as well with patterns. So you've got this pattern design, again you can resize. Go here, and I'm going to use elliptical. Just new, add a new one there. With that, I can go to filters and repeat mirror. So it's just applied to that area, but that again is repeated throughout. So again, selections are useful. Again, move tool, and just drag that design there. You can see, you can resize it, maybe move that around there. And again, select and deselect, and you've got a nice ring design very quickly. And you can repeat that. So again, go there, create that, Again, with that, go to the move tool, make certain you use the move tool and select and just drag around, resize it and just position it like that. And again, select and deselect. Now with that ring design, again, you can go here, effects, go to color overlay or 3D. Now 3D there, and you can change this and you can go for outer shadow and radius and there and intensity and close. And you can see you can build up all kinds of very unique designs very quickly using selections with pattern layers. Well, I hope you found this tutorial of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. It's really been quite an experimental tutorial in the sense it's been discovery for me as well. This just technique at the end, I only realised as I was doing it. So I just suddenly thought, you know what, I can also just scale it and move and create sort of transparency as well using that. So it's very much an experimental thing. I'm certain there is a lot more to discover with the selections and using selections, shifting, using the move tool and combining with the pattern tool, as well as combining with, and I haven't really done that in this tutorial, with things like filters as well as of course other things like adjustment layers and much, much more. But all kinds of things can be created with this and it's definitely worth, I think, running through. So any comments, questions, please let me know. Please subscribe to the channel, always adding new tutorials about Affinity Photo as well as Photoshop and others. Also, a like or dislike, always appreciated. Bye.